In this changelog, I'm going to try to create spaces and entities. So we're going to use the Phoenix generator, Phoenix gen live view. The context will be spaces. The model will be spaces, and it'll have an ID that's automatically generated, and we want a name and perhaps a description and maybe some tags, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. I think that's all we need. Well, we need a slug to identify a nice name, so maybe a slug, which is unique. I think that's probably fine. So let's create that and add these live routes to your browser scope. Router route. Huh? Web router to the browser scope. Pipe through browser. Okay, so that will give us some basic starting point for seeing a space. And then we need to run the migration. Let's see what files have appeared for the repo migrations. Okay, we have a spaces table as an ID, name, description, and a slug. These should be required, so no, false. This can be no, don't care about this. This should be no, it's false. And then, what did it add? It added spaces, space. Okay, text foreign ID type, binary ID. Cast these things. This one is not required. And let's migrate it. So mix ecto migrate. Server. Create a new space. Testing 1. My first space. Persisted. You can edit it. And if we create another one and we call it the exact same thing, we've created 2 of the same slug and 2 of the same name, which we kind of, name I think is okay. Slug should have we want to use this as the something we can put in the URL. So let's make sure that those are unique. And we'll do that by migrating or changing the migration. So here we create the table, and let's create unique. I don't know how to do that. Let's Google Phoenix Ecto create unique index. Create index. Create unique index. Table name is spaces, and we'll make it unique on the slug. So we'll save this, but first let's roll back. So let's go mix ecto, roll back. Actually, we could just do mix ecto reset. Okay. Let's also create an entities. Mix ecto mix Phoenix gen live. So that was the spaces context. This context, entities, still belong to spaces. So we'll still give it the spaces context. Entity. Entities will be the table, and this will reference the space. We'll have a space ID references space, and we'll have each entity will have a name, and what else? It will have a type, and then it might have a parent ID, which references itself, entity, entities. So is this spaces? Does that work? And let's see what happens if we do that. Whew. Currently has 6 functions, and it's okay. If you're not sure, would you like to proceed? Yeah. Wait. Not yet. There. See, what else was I going to add? Parent ID, left, right. I'm not going to let them edit that. Group ID. I won't let them edit that. Components. Yeah, let's go for it. Okay, so what do we got here? Name. Let's say the name is required. No, false. Type is required. And create indexes on unique index on entities and name for a given space. So the unique name is scope to a space. Parent ID. This can be null. On delete to nothing. Parent ID. Yeah, so if your parent is deleted, references on delete do delete all. On delete, what is the key? Ecto migration on delete. Called delete all. Yeah, delete all, nullify, restrict all. Delete all. If the space ID is deleted, yeah, delete all if it belongs to it. And I want to add a couple more, but maybe later. Add a comment. Maybe we want a left, a right, a group ID, and we'll just use that to add these entities. Have entities. So if we try to create these entities, they will fail because the entity has to belong to a space. Go to migrate them. Okay. And let's go to spaces. That still works. Let's do spaces. A. Okay. Show. We have this as the space ID. Copy. So if we go to entity, new entity, box, type box. Okay, what happened here? Edit. It didn't care, so I thought we made a reference to it. Let's see. I thought we need something here. So this says ID. Oh, it can be null. It just can't be a miscellaneous ID. So if we take a look at entity, where's our IEX file? I want to add a IEX file so we can, yes, this is what I'm looking for. When started, IEX looks for a local, and then I can import some say just .iex.exs alias repo xr repo alias xr dot spaces entity and space. Next time it'll start up with this, I think. So if I start this up again, I also want history. So to do that, we do this, I believe. So if we export these, where can we put this? Into our dev container, maybe? Let's try this first. Export. So we jump in there. I'm hitting up button, no history. But then if I say repo all entity, then I exit, reload this, and now I hit the up button again. No, seem to get recreated. Export flags. So echo export Earl flags. Okay. Export Earl A flags. Oh, repo all entity. Okay, it works when I do that. We'll figure that out later. Now, parent ID. What was the parent ID I wanted to use? I wanted to use this. Nope. I wanted to use this as the parent ID. So if I say entity change set, first let's grab something. All entity equal repo all entity 1. Whoops. Can I do that? Just give me 1. Entity, yes. Now change that equal entity change set entity. And what's the difference? Difference will be that the parent ID equals that. It won't work though. So if we did update with change set, is it okay? It didn't take it. Interesting. What happens if you set it to that? That didn't take it either. I don't even think it attempted to pull it from the database. So this, maybe I'm not using this right. Repo update. It didn't mark the changes. Let's take a look at the entity. Entity. Base ID, parent ID. Let's change its name. So change that equals entity change set. Get the entity name box 2. Saying that this wants to change the name. Repo update with this change set. And it actually did send this query, this command. So what if we wanted to do not that, but that? there's no changes here. Because, oh, the only thing that's being validated here, so we need to cast ID in. Why aren't these here? These typically wouldn't be things that people would change. Is that why? You would put these in maybe a different kind of chain set. Space ID. ID. These aren't required. No, they're not required. You compile. Now let's see what happens when you do that. It says it's valid. It marks the changes. And what happens if you try to update it? Fail because that's not a matched or binary ID. But if you give it this, and then save it, it will save it. Okay, this concludes the changes up to this point. We will tidy this up a bit. Commit these changes. Okay, git commit. Oh, some of these are not from these changes. Let me see. So git add x, git add changelog. Lib spaces. Spaces. Git. These others were just notes and exploration, I think. Speak server functional or widgets, yeah. We'll commit these. Git commit. What's the note? And added space and entities. Why aren't these in there? Oh yeah, the router. Git add readme, git add lib web. Web. Mix. Just add it to the previous commit. Git commit dash append. go git commit append amend git commit amend. Oh.